Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, joined by John Clark tonight to talk about WWE Monday Night Raw. John, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Not too bad for a Monday night. We were talking a little before we went on the air, and literally, when I scheduled this podcast, they hadn't announced anything for the show, so I had to say, I don't know what we're going to be talking about. At that point, they already had set up the main story for the show being that Bobby Lashley would have a shot to earn his way into the WWE title match for day one. So that was very much the theme of the night. But otherwise, it was very much a wait and see kind of night because we had no idea what to expect here. But right off the bat, Steve Chambers saying Raw actually better than last week. Um, I mean, I feel like it was kind of on par. I there were things I liked, there were things I didn't like. We'll talk all about that. Before we do, just want to remind you all, this show, like everything we do here, is available on all of our platforms: SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever it may be. We've got you covered. So leave a like and subscribe. So, John, we're sitting here as we record. It is December 13th, just a few weeks away from the day one pay-per-view. Obviously, you would hope that the show would build up that card and maybe quite literally, hopefully add some matches or just do something to lead to it. And DJ saying, as we called it last week a little bit, although uncertainly, that's not like we guaranteed it. But DJ pointing out that we had talked about last week the possibility that Bobby Lashley would get added to the title match at day one. And we might as well start off there because that is where the kind of again the whole show was kind of built around that, and in the end that's exactly what happened. So basically the show starts about Bobby Lashley saying, as you would expect, as we kind of thought last week, that he attacked everybody to hopefully begin to earn his way into that title match, and he and MVP flat out said, I want to be in a title match, and then basically Kevin Owens, Big E, Seth Rollins said, no, nobody wants to do a title match. Get out of here. But Adam Pearce, son of Bill, thought it was a great idea, but they're going to make him earn it. How are they going to make him earn it? He was going to have to beat Rollins, Big E, and Kevin Owens in 3 separate singles matches in the same night. Now, on paper, John, this sounds like a really cool idea, right? It's 3 really good matches between 3 great stars, but you kind of knew they were going to have Lashley win. And then in doing so, you have the champion and his 2 top challengers lose. Shenanigans or not, that's not a great look, but it's exactly what happened. By the end of the night, we had DQs. We had a Bobby Lashley, a Kevin Owens instantaneous submission to get out of the Hurt Lock before it even got locked in. And in the end, with plenty of more shenanigans, Lashley defeated the WWE champion Big E. So with that being said, John, what do you think about the fact that we do now officially know it will be a fatal 4-way match for the title at day one?
I think it's certainly interesting. I think this kind of opens up the possibility of them trying to put these 4 into a match so they can kind of segregate the Rollins and Big E feud to go into maybe Royal Rumble. So them doing this will allow Rollins to not actually lose. It will allow potentially Bobby Lashley to not really lose. So realistically, it would be potentially Big E pinning Kevin Owens, no blood on the hands of Rollins or Lashley. And then we somehow, some way, move forward to a Royal Rumble match of some sorts. And I think it's somewhat smart booking if you think about it.
I would agree, both in a short term and long term or longer term comparatively sense. Not to contradict myself from last week because it does feel a little sudden, but I guess having this whole show being built around it, I can't complain too much because it made sense in that way. Keith Elliott saying that this was a logical setup for Lashley to win against Big E. That was all kind of like pretty obvious in that sense. And I would agree again, especially once he got through the first 2 matches with plenty of shenanigans, you got to kind of assume he would beat Big E somehow. But lots of comments rolling in. Brian Everett saying he's still rooting for Owens at day one. Owens definitely the underdog. We've talked about it before with his contract situation, but as we talked about before, maybe he'll win, and as kind of like a weird ploy or attempt to kind of lure him into staying, even with a kind of a short title reign. Herman asking a question I saw kind of all over the place tonight. Are they trying to make Lashley a tweener or a face? Because like he's getting like this is very much a babyface kind of thing. You've got to overcome the odds and beat these 3 top guys to get a title shot. And then even when he kind of got screwed out of one of the matches when Owens attacked Rollins to force a DQ, Pierce and DeVille helped him. They're like, oh no, we're going to restart the match. It's not going to go down like that. And he instantaneously won. So they kind of helped pave the way for that happening. So I think tweener, if anything, but at the same time, but he's in this feud with Big E, obviously a clear cut babyface, so that does kind of blur the lines a little bit. But it seems like people are pretty happy or on board with Lashley getting added to this match. Stephen Chambers saying he's debating changing his prediction for day one from Seth Rollins to Bobby Lashley. I mean, I think that's a safe bet. One of my thoughts last week was that they might be going this way to potentially set up the long-awaited dream match of Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I think that's possible. Not a lock by any means, but just trying to think about reasons why we're rolling with this. I think that would make sense. But yeah, I mean, I guess my money at this point, we talked about it last week as well, but now that we know it's official, John, you mentioned last week you don't see Big E reaching WrestleMania as the champion, and I feel like they could put the title on Lashley here to kind of roll into WrestleMania with him as a champion once again. But I don't know. As I said last week, they've got options on the table. I'm having a hard time kind of leaning any which way.
I don't think it would be a bad idea to finally move forward with the Brock versus Lashley thing if they were finally going to do that. Of course, it all depends on what they want to do. We heard rumors that it could potentially be Reigns versus Lesnar versus McIntyre, so that could be a possibility as well that we might see.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the things that we.
I think either way, it just decides kind of where do they want Lesnar to be at WrestleMania. That plays the most critical role. Do they want him to be with Lashley? Do they want him to continue this thing with Roman since it's worked so many times before? It could go either way.
I really hope of those two. I think I've been enjoying Roman and Brock, and I especially during this latest round of it. But it is something we have seen a lot, whereas Lashley and Lesnar would be a very fresh kind of thing. And to me, just as interesting in many ways, and maybe even more so because it would be something new. So maybe I'm rooting for that at least a little bit, but I'm sure though they'd find many ways to make Reigns and Lesnar even more interesting. DJ with a question saying, do you think before day one we'll see the hashtag Teddy Long special and have Big E team up with Lashley to take on Rollins and Kevin Owens? Yeah, that's what they do. That's going to be the classic can they coexist thing. It's probably gonna be those combinations, I would think. Yeah, we saw Rollins and Kevin Owens kind of work together tonight, even though they've very much been feuding during this build to the first triple threat match, now the fatal four way. So that quite literally ties in the can they coexist thing. So you asked me, do I think we're gonna see it? Yes. Do I want to see it? No, but that is very much the nature of watching Raw, at least in some ways these days. Would you agree, John? I feel like this is very much their pattern and their recipe at this point.
Absolutely. I'm not saying I think they're going to do that, but I'm thinking it would make sense if they were to go that direction.
Yeah, and if it's not next week, maybe the one after that. I'm sitting here now. We've got two more Raws before the pay-per-view, so could easily be on the go home show for some more chaos and shenanigans for the go home, or just going to the pay-per-view. DJ saying not seeing that would be great. Maybe finding some other fresh ways to kind of to build up this match would be nice. But and yeah, it would. But I feel like more often than not, WWE stays with the tried and true patterns and just paths forward for matches like this. So I would be admittedly surprised if we weren't sitting here next week or the one after that talking about more of this can they click this kind of thing. But I digress. Looking forward to some other things here. Speaking of day one, we had much like last week, a prediction become a reality with Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan officially getting added to the card here in the rematch. Obviously, Becky defeated Liv last week to retain the title, admittedly by cheating pretty blatantly. Becky was bragging about that. Liv Morgan came out and called her out on it and challenged her to a rematch for day one. Becky accepted, but she also attacked Liv and stomped her arm in some steel steps to kind of sell that to further that injury kind of thing. And I'm going to catch flack for this. I know I am. But, John, I saw your tweet about it, so I feel like we're on the same page. Something about Liv Morgan's promos during this run just aren't really doing it for me. Not Liv as a performer or as a person, but more so in what she is saying. I saw some tweets tonight with someone saying, she criticized Becky for winning, for crying after she beat Charlotte at Survivor Series, and then Liv cried last week. She cried some other point, and I think I may have misheard the exact line time, but basically she was giving herself a pass on crying. She's like, oh, whatever. That's not great. Like, that's kind of a logical leap. But just overall, something about it isn't really doing it for me. I'm glad to see she's getting a chance. I'm glad that they're trying to build someone new, because for years now, the thing has been they've been so overly reliant on Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks and Bailey. So by trying to build up someone else, and we've seen that with Bianca Belair, but it can't hurt to try and establish somebody new. But this, just, I don't know, just the delivery is a little cheesy. The lines aren't quite doing it for me, and that's kind of hurting this feud for me. As good as the match last week was, as good as I'm sure it will be at day one, I'm not enjoying this as much as I would have hoped that I would. That's kind of where I'm coming off on it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that this is the right direction, because it felt like too much of a play off of last week's ending where they showed that girl on the screen, and I don't know. I feel like we've seen this before with other people talking about, like, I'm doing this for the girls that don't have a voice or something like that. I don't know. I think we've seen this before. I want to say when Alexa Bliss was a face, she kind of did this whole shtick. But if not her, certainly it could be argued that Bianca did this when she first won. But
Yeah,
I think that was a little different and a little bit more well executed than it is here. I don't like the direction they're going with this, basically trying to make Liv this extreme underdog with no chance that eventually defies the odds like everybody else does. It's becoming very predictable. It's only a matter of time. Does this happen at day one? Does this happen at the Royal Rumble? Or does it keep getting pushed out?
That's the question. We had one comment here saying Eddie Zahari. Now he's citing Dave Meltzer, a guy that is a very divisive figure in the wrestling news world. But sometimes he is, obviously on the money. But citing this one report from Meltzer saying that Liv Morgan will potentially win the title one day. I'm assuming I'm reading that correctly, meaning she'll win it at some point during this feud, not at day one. I mean, yeah, like I feel like what you were saying, John, that this whole point of her being an underdog here, that would be the clear outcome, and pretty clear reason to do that. Honestly, in a way, we're talking about last week. You were saying you hoped it would be at a bigger platform. For me, it's like in some ways, if you're gonna do it, just do it and like kind of roll with it and see how it goes. Like, I don't want this to kind of drag on, let alone all the way to WrestleMania. Even then, Royal Rumble was a while away. Again, if they can build her up a little better here, a little stronger in some ways, I might be a little more on board, but it's not quite clicking for me. One thing that a lot of people just seem to enjoy tonight, with Eddie Zahari saying last week we saw Angry Liv Girl. Tonight we saw Angry Becky Girl. I thought this fan was a plant. Liv was cutting her promo, and there's this fan behind her. And I kid you not, she was very much in the frame with Liv Morgan, and I thought it was Angry Liv Girl, like dressed in Becky Lynch stuff, and they somehow like got her as a plant. And I realized that sounds crazy, but I just like something about it. They look kind of similar, and then I'm like, I thought they're gonna try and make that part of the storyline. This fan was but I guess not. If that was the case, I think they would have made it a thing in terms of the promo. But this fan was, very clearly pro Becky Lynch here, and not so much for Liv Morgan. But at that point, Liv was saying, as you said, John, she's like, doing it for the fans and doing it for all the little girls out there. Again, they do have 2 weeks. I hope they can make some progress on this turnaround a little bit, but so far, I didn't want to like come out and say, oh, I don't like this right off the start, but like now we're sitting here a couple weeks in, I'm like, not quite doing it for me. And again, glad to still have gotten that shot, but not really digging the specifics of how it's going down here. Kind of likewise, one thing I've been enjoying, but not in a specific sense. Tonight we had Miz TV with Miz and Maurice, building up the match between Miz and Edge for day one as well. And this was kind of in line with last week, where I thought the first week was a pretty strong kind of promo exchange. Last week, a little lesser than, and this week, just like, didn't quite do it for me. Like, there was, I will say, I did like Miz had this very, very convincing Hall of Fame video package to the point that I actually thought it was real, because the heel gave himself the Hall of Fame graphic and they played the music, and I was like, wait, like, is this a thing? Like, is he what? And I realized, no, I don't think they would do it like that, because it was very clearly like a, kind of corny, kind of like
satire.
Yeah, and it was kind of like the on the road to WrestleMania, Seth Rollins had this like PSA against Cesaro that aired on SmackDown, like very like paid programming in a sense. I don't know, you know what I mean. But I fell for it in a way. I was like, oh, is they gonna do this? Like, all right, like, he deserves it. Nesh Kurz saying that, or no, sorry, David Eckman saying Miz does deserve it for Hall of Fame. DJ agreeing, but if they were gonna do this, I think they would do it in a more traditional, legitimate way. Like, actually say, hey, Miz is going to be on in the Hall of Fame, and even I think it was the WWE on Fox Twitter account or something like that. Took a screen grab and had Mrs. Land, like, really, like, so it was clearly a bit, but the one day it does come, he'll deserve it, and then that was the whole point of this of the segment tonight, where he was saying he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame alongside Maurice, and Edge pretty much disagreed, where he said, like, you still have a lot to learn, I'm going to teach you that, all these things. And just the something about it, like, it rubbed me the wrong way right off the bat, because Edge comes out and he said the squeaker wheel doesn't always get the grease, it just squeaks and squeaks, and he said it over and over and over and over again. I was like, I love Edge, I love him so much, but sometimes, like, when he's trying a little too hard as a face, like, it just takes me out of it a little bit. There are times when he has great face promos, but there are times where, like, doesn't quite do it. He called Miz, I think, a jack off tonight. I was like, all right, like, all right. That's the thing, she like that. Hey, we had this talk last week on the XC show. Like, if you like something and I don't, that, like, you're more than entitled to that, more than welcome to that. That's not a problem at all. But for me, this didn't quite do it for me, and it's unfortunate, because I am very much excited about this match, but I'm not excited. And I tweeted about this. I'm not excited about 2 more weeks of this, because, like, 2 weeks in a row hasn't really sold me on it, and now we have 2 more weeks of this. We did see Maurice was back tonight. I think she was absent last week, so I tweeted about this as well. Glad to see her back. I think she and Miz are great together, and maybe, one notable outcome of this: Maurice slapped the Miz after the segment when Miz pulled Maurice in front of him so that Edge would be able to spear him, and then he attacked Edge. Miz was upset, slapped him, and walked away. So possibly some trouble in paradise there. DJ calling out the slap heard around the world. John, a lot to dig into. What do you think about all of this kind of stuff?
Well, the slap didn't really make sense to me. I'm not sure why they would want to tease tension there, especially with the rumblings that they would potentially introduce at Phoenix into the story. So I'm not sure where they're going there. I'll give it a little bit to unfold. As far as the whole thing with Edge kind of doing this face thing where he's, like, really, really trying to make it a point that the Miz is annoying and nobody cares. It feels like for the last couple of weeks it's been kind of the same repetitive promos, just with different words coming out. It seems to be all boiling down to the Miz thinking he's all that in a cup of tea, but Edge saying, if you actually want to be that, you don't demand it, you don't say you are, you just earn it, and you just are. So I don't really know what to expect here. Edge is an overwhelming favorite, and I think for good reason. I don't think the Miz is going to win. I'm still in that boat, though, of what Edge has been winning and winning and winning. Is he maybe in line for a title match? I mean, I really do not want to see Edge in the Royal Rumble. I don't want to see Edge win the Royal Rumble. There's got to be a better way to put him in some kind of a meaningful title feud or something along the lines of that.
Yeah, I mean, in the short term, Nesh is saying the slap wasn't expected, and that does kind of add some uncertainty to where we're going here. With you mentioned a minute ago, Brian Everett also saying, the clear kind of direction at some point would be Miz and Maurice versus Edge and Beth Phoenix, having this kind of tension with Miz and Maurice already, kind of adds a little murkiness to that. But yeah, I mean, for Edge, I would agree. I don't think, as much as I like him, I don't think he needs to win the Royal Rumble 3 years in a row. So, and I think he's as much as I don't usually like this kind of thing, he's very much at the place where come like February, he could easily just say, "Hey, I want a title shot," and kind of assuming he's got some wins to kind of go off of, can kind of like talk his way into it essentially, or win a number one contenders match, depending how the Royal Rumble and such things go. But yeah, I would say he's probably the logical pick to win at day one, kind of for that very reason. So then come later in the road to WrestleMania, he can easily slot in somewhere. Talk about last week, maybe he'll face AJ Styles. So if he doesn't have a title match, I think that'd be a great kind of contingency plan. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the women's title thing here, hopefully we have a little more success and a little more kind of just quality in the build here in the next 2 weeks. And this does kind of feel in a way like it won't be a one-off. Maybe we talked about it last week, maybe they'll do the mixed tag at Royal Rumble. I think that would be something that would make some sense. But yeah, I not 100% on board with it so far, as much as I'm looking forward to the match itself, hoping for better here moving forward. Kind of likewise, something that maybe not, I'm not on board with anyway, but and one better for. We had yet another segment was Austin Theory and Vince McMahon tonight, and boy, this one was something. Vince McMahon said on WTV that he doesn't have friends and he doesn't want friends, and he also confirmed that he has not been impressed by Austin Theory so far, wanting him to go out and impress him even more, possibly by getting what he said for some like get him a doily with his autograph on it. I don't know. And Austin Theory wound up trying to impress him by attacking Finn Balor again. Talk about that match in a minute, but this was weird, John. This was like just I don't know. This is my catchphrase for tonight. I don't know. Like this is like didn't do it for me. Feels like not the best use for Vince McMahon specifically when you have that popular of a character to be out there talking about autographs with doilies and I mean the Friends line was kind of funny, but not so much a funny highlight, but more in a funny like someone tweeted like I feel like that's the most honest thing Vince has said on WWE TV, if ever, at least in years. But what do you think about this continuing saga with Vince and Austin Theory? And you can start to break down what Austin did wind up doing to try and get on Vince's good side.
Yeah, so Austin Theory decided to earlier in the night attack Finn Balor again, take a selfie, distract him, cause him to lose, say he did not expect the unexpected. Side note here, I do fully think that Austin Theory is probably the next United States champion. I do think he will be feuding with Damian Priest. I do think he will somehow get the upper hand and win that after tonight. I think it makes perfect sense. As far as the backstage segments and all that stuff goes, I don't really get the point. I know it's going somewhere, but I don't think we hope it's going somewhere. And I do think it is going somewhere, especially since they do have Vince in this. But I have no idea where it could even be going at all.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem. It's like kind of hard to tell where it's going to go. Aside from the Vince thing tonight, I thought in some ways there might be some appeal to having Stephen Chambers mentioning here this triple threat with Theory, Finn Balor, and Priest for the title, with the prediction that Theory would win. There's something kind of to me appealing about maybe Theory winning that match at day one, literally the day one of the new year, day one, quote unquote, of Theory's real kind of reign as a champion here in WWE on Raw. Kind of like that idea, but maybe in a more general sense, Eddie Zahari saying that Theory will win some gold next year, maybe be the Iron Man in the Royal Rumble, maybe not winning it, but having a good performance. I think that's fair. Or even if not the Iron Man, I would think he will have a good performance because he's just been booked relatively strongly, especially in the sense that they've made it clear that they are high on him, and that's what Brian Everett's saying. Vince seems to be high on Theory, and we were seeing that play out. And maybe for that reason, with that in mind, DJ wondering, can we see WWE bringing back the corporation, having Vince help Theory win a championship, much like we saw back in the day? Was that same stable? I mean, this is something that I've thought about kind of over the years, that like it makes sense to do something like this. We've seen Vince, be the evil authority figure before, so maybe not retreading on that so much, but maybe it's just something kind of similar somehow. I mean, on paper, I think it makes sense, and I like it as from a fantasy booking perspective. Do I think that actually would do it? I don't know, because I think with that, maybe to me, there's almost too much of a risk of just kind of retreading the same ground. So they already are establishing Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville as these, clear authority figures. Although they did reference very clearly a higher power on SmackDown. I think it was last week. So could that be Vince? Maybe. I don't know who else it would be. But John, what do you think? Would, at least in terms of Theory winning a title and maybe his, at least his short-term prospects?
I think it would be fine. I think he's proven that he's capable. I mean, he's been a staple in the top 15, top 12 in our rankings for a couple weeks now. So if you're in the top 10, top 15, I'd say you got a pretty good spot in the company. Of course, you get the Vince McMahon rub at the same time. So I don't think it can hurt.
It's a good rub to have. Maybe even the best one. So again, he's being set up for success here, and that's good for him, and it's good yet again to see new people getting built up. I would say with some success. I think, ironically, even though some of these segments haven't really been working, some of them have been fun. And again, there is that inherent rub anyway. It's almost like no matter what the booking is, he's literally on TV with Vince McMahon, so that makes him feel more important, and that it's like a self kind of fulfilling thing where it's like it's making him seem even more important, and that's helping him kind of rise up the ranks here on Raw. So in that sense, it's a win-win. Someone else who enjoyed a win on Monday night was Dana Brooke, who emerged still with the 24/7 title around her waist. Tonight we had a more, if not unusual, more of a return to some of the more off the wall kind of segments here. Dana Brooke, the 24/7 champion, was out in the park somewhere, presumably Minneapolis, walking with Reggie. He was offering to give her some advice about how to keep the championship, and R-Truth and Akira Tozawa were standing nearby with Akira wearing a snowman mascot outfit of some sort, and R-Truth wearing a ghillie suit. They're trying to hatch a scheme to win the title, and then Tamina was also there trying to supposedly part of the scheme. None of them managed to pin Dana Brooke. Dana got away. Reggie flipped over a pile of snow, and Tamina was upset about the plan not going accordingly. I don't know. Nestor commenting with a smile, happy that Dana Brooke kept the title here. I don't know. It's just like at some point, it wasn't this specific segment, but at some point I was just like, how long can this go? Like I think we're past the glory days of the title itself. Just like in anything else nowadays, is like not great. I don't know. Unless they find ways to like make it more entertaining. I mean, once you've had the peak of Maria Kanellis Bennett winning the title and the gynecologist's office, John, I don't know how much higher you can go.
Oh boy, I don't think it's not fun. It's not entertaining anymore. It's pretty stupid.
And you say that, and I agree. Even with, we have seen plenty of stupid things. This isn't the most stupid. And that's just saying it's fun. And I know plenty of people are enjoying it. I thought it was fun when Reggie was just doing flips for flip's sake, and just to get those TikTok numbers up, as we were talking about a little while ago. But the one plus side, Dana Brooke is getting to be on TV every week. Now Tamina was on TV here as well. Steven Chambers saying poor Tamina not getting the win here. It is weird, as Nestor saying that Reggie didn't try to get the title, and she mentioned in another comment maybe they're trying to set up a romance of some sort. He offered to teach her the ways of the 24/7 title over a cup of hot chocolate. So there you go. Oh man, Luke got to start bringing the NXT spirit here, saying that Dana's bringing in that 65 plus holiday spirit rating. Oh boy, can't escape it. But this is more what I meant from Steven Chambers. It's the same thing. It's like especially specifically with with R-Truth and Akira Tozawa, they're like getting each other's way, and the plans are going accordingly, and they're yelling like, no you, like, I don't know. Someone somewhere thinks it's like, and the creative chain thinks it's funny, and that's why it's still getting tried out here every week. It's not doing it for me, and that's fine. But you know, hopefully we get maybe something fun. Maybe something fun. Maybe if not next week, maybe the one after that. Something fun like Santa themed thing. You know, just if they can make it fun, that's fine. But when it's not fun, not so much on board with it. Speaking of which, John, something that is fun sometimes and not so fun other times. RK-Bro was supposed to find out who they'd be facing for the Raw Tag Team titles, presumably next week in the finals of the RK-Bro tournament. But shortly before the show tonight, the two teams scheduled to be in action, the Mysterios and Street Profits, were pulled from action. They were reportedly, they suffered some injuries, and the match got postponed not to next week, but 2 weeks from now. Not sure what injuries they sustained, but all we do know is that the match will be going down, at least sitting here today, 2 weeks from tonight. So I don't know. To me, it was weird that this was the only match advertised actually ahead of time. So once that happened, I was like, where are we going tonight? I have no idea what to expect. Because other than that, the only thing they had advertised was Bobby Lashley merely talking about what he did last week. So that lent a very unpredictable, to say the least, showing for Raw. But RK-Bro wasn't on the show. Unlike Mysterios and the Street Profits, they were on the show. They had a pretty lengthy tape segment where Randy was referencing Riddle being backstage with the members of Jackass, and Riddle referenced his role as the shaman. He suggested they should start a podcast together. Don't know if anyone wants to see that, but I don't know. This is one of those weeks that more than anything was just too long. It felt like it was like a solid 2 to 3 minute segment. I was like, as I said it last week, they're best in small doses. So when you just kind of like have them go on and on, not the best look for me. But someone who had a good look tonight was Otis. Otis beat Riddle, and this is weird for me. My own perception was reality, because I was like, Otis won, and I thought, hey, it feels like Riddle never wins singles matches anymore. And I looked it up, and he's actually been winning them lately. But I have this memory that he was on a losing streak for a while. But I looked up, he beat Dolph Ziggler, he beat somebody else in pretty recent memory. So maybe that was my own brain getting in the way. But Otis with a big win, so I would expect to see American Alpha facing RK-Bro, even though American Alpha lost.
Academy.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. Oh boy. Yes, Alpha Academy, Chad Gable with his master's degree. But this is weird because Alpha Academy, they lost the first round of the RK-Bro tournament. So this was a little weird because like they lost in the tournament, but they beat. Well, not granted, it was a singles match, but something about that didn't quite add up. Nesh just saying she was surprised that Riddle lost. And DJ even going so far to predict that the Alpha Academy will be the next tag team champions. But in the meantime, supposedly, once we do have the finals of the RK-Bro tournament, it is hard predicting, seemingly, that the Mysterios will win that. Actually, no, sorry. I was saying we're going to see that they're going to win the tournament, face RK-Bro at day one. And per his prediction, we'll see Dominic maybe turn on Ray at the pay-per-view. Could happen. Granted, we've been talking about kind of the moving chairs here in the tag team division. We saw a perhaps reconciliation between AJ Styles and Omos tonight, where they are back on the same page. So I feel like they might kind of move forward with one of the big splits here, one of those being potentially the Mysterios. So I think that could happen here with the potential for a tag title match next week, as Stephen James predicting as well. John, lots of moving parts here. What are you thinking about RK-Bro? Their lack of a clear contender right now, but possibly Alpha Academy, and then the eventual finals of the RK-Bro tournament down the road, not too long from now.
Oh, it's all a jumbled mess right now. I'm not sure exactly. And I agree with Luke comments. RK-Bro is going to be breaking up early next year, and we're going to get Orton Mania. I absolutely think that's probably what we're getting. I would assume Orton will be the heel. It would make more sense that way. But how we get to that point and who takes over their spot remains to be seen, because I also think the Mysterios are also going to split up. which leaves little to no teams. Because I also think that AJ Styles and Omos are going to split up.
Right.
So that literally leaves the Dirty Dogs and Street Profits and Gable and Otis, and that's pretty much it in the tag scene there. So I'd be okay if it was kind of that team of Otis and Gable taking the titles there.
Yeah, you mentioned, and we talked about this before, but especially they're at least teasing to some degree, 3 splits of the top 3 teams here, as that would leave really Street Profits, Alpha Academy, and that's just about it. So, I again, we saw kind of this brief reconciliation, or at least that's my projection, but they did seemingly have kind of a reconciliation of styles and almost sets. Maybe they're going to be doing that a little bit. Michael Coveney pointing out they do have Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. We have seen them team up sometimes. They might, or maybe they should even, utilize them a little more, especially with a lack of depth here. But Steve Chambers pointing out they might have a lot of tag teams split up with the ones we're just talking about, maybe after Royal Rumble. So with that in mind, again, maybe they should use Crews and Aziz more. At this point, though, it feels like Nesh is saying Dirty Dogs could be the next champions. That'd be a nice twist. We saw them pick up a big win over Priest and Balor tonight. Again, due to Austin Theory's interference. DJ is asking about that. I mean, they booked this match, or they announced it during the show tonight, and I more so thought this would be set up for Priest versus Balor for the U.S. title, not so much with the Dirty Dogs winning and furthering the Austin Theory thing. And granted, that made sense too, and it's, I guess, good to build up teams they do have. But yeah, good for Dirty Dogs. I maintain they deserve better, but I'm glad to get them seeing pick up a win here, and I'd be fine with them getting another title reign, especially with the kind of, again, lack of depth we've been talking about. DJ went out wondering if they're going to make a team out of Priest and Balor. No, I wouldn't necessarily think so. I think they are going to need to make some kind of random teams to kind of make up for this, but this is more of to me, kind of a circumstantial thing of like Priest needed a quote unquote a friend to team up for Dirty Dogs because they attacked him last week. So could happen. I feel like it's not necessarily likely though. But speaking of the tag divisions, and on Raw here, we did see some. We saw something in the women's tag division. We had Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH backstage, and this was the first time in a couple weeks that I've actually enjoyed stepping it with Rhea and Nikki. No knock on them at all. Again, that it comes down to the booking. I just think they've been handled pretty poorly. And tonight, actually, Nikki was very, very upset that they lost the titles. She's been on this cold streak, and Rhea had to snap her out of it and say, like, "Hey, you beat Charlotte Flair," and basically saying she wants the old Nikki back. And that's what many fans have been saying for some time now. So to have that, kind of be part of the storyline made sense. So I like that there, that, that logical kind of progression of Nikki being upset, Rhea trying to kind of build her back up, their team. Makes sense. Sidebar with Luke wondering, it's been 6 months. Why is she still almost a superhero?
Working on it.
Maybe it's a 4-year degree. I don't know. But yeah, and then this turned into Rhea Ripley facing Zelina Vega, the queen and one half of the women's tag team champions. Carmella came out and did a heel version of the Kofi Kingston, hear ye, here comes, in this case, the queen. Pretty typical stuff here. Doesn't really much to note. What was noteworthy in its brevity was Zelina Vega pinning Rhea Ripley in 38 seconds. I think it was 38 or
30. I think it was 33 or 30 or something like that. But yeah,
it was a very short match. That much we is just a fact. Whatever the specific number was, ridiculously short. Like, and I tweeted about it when it happened. Divas era level short of just like match starts, 30 seconds. Somehow Rhea Ripley gets accidentally distracted by Nikki ASH, so the cold streak continues. Man, I don't know. If you're gonna do this kind of thing, where they're gonna have a couple comments predicting that Rhea Ripley will turn heel, with Eddie predicting that specifically here, doesn't need to be a 30-second match. I thought they deserved a little longer than this, especially John. This show, they had nothing advertised, and you can tell, like so many video packages. I think many people picked up on this. It felt like even more commercials than usual, more video packages, recaps, and the video packages were longer than usual. Surely, somewhere along the way, they could have found an extra, even just 5 minutes, just like to give them some time. And again, even if the outcome remains the same of Rhea turning heel, I think that'd be even better to have her actually have a match here and to go set that up like that. But not a big fan of that. Not a big fan of just 30 seconds. Again, we're very much back to that the same talk we're having with the Queen's Crown thing, just like these wrongfully short matches. I just think it's bad look for everyone involved, and I want better for Raw, for WWE, for the women's division, and hopefully we'll get more of that moving forward. Maybe part of that will be with Rhea Ripley as a heel, as Stephen Chambers is predicting. I think that'd be good to see. But what do you think that the direction we're going would be? Rhea turning on Nikki, or vice versa? What do you think that there's any chance we might see that it go the other way?
It's definitely one or the other. Part of me thinks that Nikki would have to be the one to turn if she's going to drop this whole almost superhero gimmick. But as far as what I think is the most realistic, I'm not exactly sure.
I mean, I think at least for now, it feels like they're pretty determined to keep going with the Nikki superhero thing, because it's one of those characters that's like practically meant for kids, for merchandise, for whatever. And I don't think they're going to want to pull the plug on that too soon. Granted, again, I don't think it's quite been working as well as anyone might have hoped, but I think they might try and kind of milk that cow as long as possibly can. Speaking of the gimmick, but I think there's some truth in saying that Rhea has enjoyed more success as a heel, with Brian saying bring back the old Rhea from NXT UK. And again, she's been both face and heel at various points, and I think she's enjoyed some successes both, but I think something needs to change here. So, and I imagine based on what we saw tonight, that would be for that reason. So hopefully we won't wait too long for that. But one thing that was a positive, among others, Doudrop, A, getting new theme music, and B, on the flip side of this match, this match of Bianca Belair actually got time with I was saying it got roughly 10 minutes here. Yes, this match got time, as it should. This is a rivalry match. This is a rematch after Doudrop got counted out last week. I thought this was very, very good. Doudrop came out with new theme music that's actually meant for a heel. We've been saying for weeks that it made zero sense to have Doudrop, the newly turned heel, keeping the theme song of a bubbly babyface. DJ pointing out no more spirit fingers. Yes, this is good. I was happy to see this. And kind of maybe for that reason, I entered this match a little more, I don't know, a little more receptive, so it's a little less turned off to the character itself. So then I was like, oh, hey, she's actually having a good match, and I came out of it feeling pretty good. She lost. Bianca Belair broke out an awesome 450 splash. That was pretty cool. She won the match like that, but I thought Doudrop looked great. But then, John, if Doudrop like teleported after the match, Bianca Belair walked up the ramp, and the camera was zoomed in on her, and somehow Doudrop got from the ring to behind where Blair was and attacked her. So however she did that, the feud is clearly moving forward here, with at least at this point maybe a match day one being the likely.
Which Belair will win, like she has every other time.
Would seem to be the case. Maybe they'll do some kind of tag team match of some sort next week or the one after that, to give Doudrop a win in this. But yeah, I think kind of like we were talking about earlier with the Edge and the Miz, this would feel like this feud in general might be kind of really just a main way to kind of give Belair something to do and to come out of it with a win, to eventually challenge the title again. DJ joking that Doudrop got cloned again. I was kind of freaked out. Like, she was in the ring and she winds up behind Belair, and I don't know how she did that, but kudos to her, or the production team at least, for pulling that off, because it looked it was an interesting effect like that. But that being said, trying to look at other notes here, got the 24/7 thing. Liv, I mean, one thing that's not too much to really write home about, but a brief appearance from Gable Steveson, the Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson, who got drafted to Raw, was in the front row. Of course, the show was in Minneapolis tonight, goes to the University of Minnesota, so you're the hometown guy, was in town. And beyond just being in the front row, he fist bumped with Bobby Lashley. So little tease there, maybe a little planted some breadcrumbs for when the day does come that Gable Steveson is on Raw. Maybe he does have a potential ally of some sort there, but at least it was good that they kind of had to do with that. But one other thing I do want to mention here, DJ pointed this out. He tweeted about it a little bit, and I looked it up. So someone had shared a picture about a lot of empty seats at Raw. I'm not sure when the picture was shared, or let alone when it was taken, but the picture did show a lot of empty seats. And I looked it up. At least of yesterday, the percentage of tickets sold for the show tonight for Monday Night Raw was 73%, which would mean 4,627 out of a total 6,298, and that is from WrestleTix on Twitter. Definitely recommend following them if you're into that kind of thing. So maybe just it's again, maybe the picture was taken before the fans were entirely filled in. B, maybe the attendance was down in general, and he's asking for the weather to play a factor there. Could be, things happened, or it could have been a down night. I don't know. But again, I read that honestly, and if it's 73%, and that was yesterday, so I imagine they may have sold some more tickets today. That's not bad. It's not bad by any means. So I don't know. I don't have very much to say about that. Just, and I don't think I even really noticed. Like the crowd seemed fine, and also for to be fair, it is hard to point out. Could be we might be seeing part of a pandemic effect playing an effect here of things might be ramping up a little bit, and some fans may not want to go. DJ pointing out the picture was tweeted out an hour after he sent it to me, or previously from when he sent it to me. So supposedly it was taken during the show. I don't know. Again, I'm not reporting on this officially. I'm saying that those are the numbers that I saw yesterday. Or saw from the tweet yesterday. Would assume they went up today. And Brian ever pointing out WWE always tarps off some fans. So that's a regular thing, John. I'm sure you can attest to that. But do you make anything of this?
No, people would just like to make comparisons and crap on the product and say, "Oh, the hard cam side was tarped off." It's always like that. I was at a show in Baltimore. I was at a show in Wilkes-Barre the last couple months. They always tarp off that side if the seats don't sell. It's nothing new. The attendance tonight was on average on par with what it's been for most of their shows. I don't really understand why people take it out of context this much. Of course, it gets people talking or whatever, but we'll see. The SmackDowns in Philly and LA over the past 2 months each had well over 10,000. It really depends what market they're in. It doesn't. It does have something to do with the product, but it also has more to do with where the event is at. If you try to do a Raw in middle of nowhere, Iowa, you're going to get nobody. If you try to do Raw in LA or Chicago or New York City, you're going to get 8 to 10,000. This is how it is. So SmackDown, obviously in Chicago this Friday, they're approaching, I believe, a little over 9,000. It'll put it in the top, I believe, top 20 since they started touring again.
Yeah,
just depends where they're at.
And Eddie pointing out that the day one ticket sales, the pay-per-view on New Year's Day, they're trending in the right direction. They're doing very well. I think he says they're up about 80% capacity after they officially announced Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. I was sitting here doing the Raw show, I admittedly, for me at least, to me, the ticket sales for the pay-per-views are really what matters. It's you can have some down weeks, especially for Raws, for the SmackDowns, let alone for non televised events. But the pay-per-views are kind of, to me, a real barometer in some ways of where the business is at. So even if tonight was a down night for attendance, and again, we're talking about what market it's in. We're talking about the Deej mentioned the weather. Nesh point out maybe it's the holiday season having an effect. There's so many external factors, and you never even know. So that again, I'm business probably just fine. Their W's just fine. Everything's fine. But But one thing we mentioned Campbell Stevenson. One other thing to note was that as part of that, they officially on TV announced the NIL class of amateur athletes. If you haven't already read about that, make sure to look that up. It's all we wrote it up on WrestleZone. It's a whole list of the first class of NIL athletes that could be a very kind of I don't want to say transformational, but a very significant moment in WWE history when like they're officially like trying to really groom these amateur athletes to become WWE superstars down the road. And while they've obviously signed plenty of former athletes in the past and all that kind of stuff, it is definitely new that they're like more in connection with these athletes when they're still in school. So if you haven't looked it up, definitely make sure to look into that. And I should point out there's a set of female twins. Don't know the name off the top of my head, but I've seen some reports that they're being compared to the Bella twins already. That's a high bar to live up to, but who knows?
It's because
right?
they have 3.5 million followers on TikTok, and they are being obviously commented on for their looks as well. So, I mean, we'll see if it ends up working out.
That's exactly what Ed is saying. It's the Cavinder
3
twins.
million, not 300,000, Eddie. It's 3.5 million.
That's crazy. Boy. So they seem to be kind of maybe definitely two people to look out for among that class. I'm sure all those athletes are very talented. So, it'll be interesting to see how they continue to grow. Quick, another side right here. Deidre pointing out a rest in peace wrestling icon Jimmy Rave, a former Ring of Honor star, former TNA star. He competed all over the world. A very tragic story. He battled very substance abuse and other things. A very, very sad story. He passed away. I think I'm not sure if yesterday or today, but the news came out today. So obviously very, very much sending our condolences to his family, his loved ones during a very rough time. Obviously it's just very, very sad, and if you're not familiar with his work, and if you feel inclined to look it up, he had great runs in Ring of Honor and just all over the wrestling world. And if you follow, if you're kind of plugged into wrestling Twitter, he just got a lot of outpouring of support from various people in the wrestling world, various wrestlers, and all these things. So definitely want to make note of that. But well, maybe one last thing. Well, let's go rating some way of question about the NIL program. John, what do you think about Raw overall tonight?
Oh, I'll go with 6.5 out of 10. Just thought it was a little bit below average. The build wasn't necessarily that great. It got repetitive throughout the night.
Yeah. Eric agreeing with the 6.5 as well. Telling us to enjoy wrestling with a smiley face. We appreciate you. I would go for like a 6.3. Not low enough to be like a bad show by any means. Whoa, we got 3 7s in a row. Feels like we are very much in rough agreement, kind of in a general sense here. Nash with a 7, Steven, and Nisha Deli with a 7 as well. But Michael going up with an 8.5. Really great show tonight. And as I always say, if you really enjoy it, more power to you. Like, that's great. I want y'all to enjoy the show, even on nights when I don't necessarily agree. That we're all here to enjoy the wrestling, and if you're doing that and I'm not, like, it makes me happier because at least we're trying to talk about it and have a good time in that sense. So, but some disagreement with DJ going for as low as a 5.5. We're all giving a 3. I did a 6.4. And that's when we've seen. Yes, we have seen worse historically, and even in recent memory with the pandemic era and everything. And Luke chipping in saying SmackDown's better out of 10. Boy, but hopeful so one of the themes of the night is hopefully we will have better next week and the week after that, leading up to day one, because obviously you want to kind of have a good amount of momentum heading into the pay-per-views. One last thing real quick here. We're all asking us the direction we think WWE will go with this NIL, the next in line. I forgot that's what the acronym stands for. The next in line project of the amateur athletes. Do we think it will go up or down? Not sure I mean up or down. Do I think it'll be successful if I'm reading that correctly? I mean, but lastly, not saying 6.1 ducklings, but for the NIL program, there is no way to know in terms of like how successful it will be or what its potential to really succeed is. We do know that WWE has groomed and developed plenty of amateur athletes. Big E, literally the WWE champion, was a college football player. So was Roman Reigns. We see all the time these athletes from other walks of life succeed in wrestling. Kurt Angle, cause example. Gable Steveson is going to be leading the charge there as an amateur athlete, making the switch here. So I think a lot of people, it seems to be a little divisive. Some people are saying that it's seemingly contributing to this idea that WWE is this wrestling factory, in a sense of like they're taking these people and they're gonna try and, I don't know, shape them in the mold of what they are wanting and the superstars of today, whereas others are maybe saying, hey, it's good to have these new talents and that's literally take that raw athletic skill and kind of, as I said, take that and mold it into a wrestler or a superstar, sports entertainer, whatever you want to say. I think that the truth somewhere is somewhere in between, right? I'm someone that I've been, and that to me that's an extension of the NXT 2.0 thing of going away from the independent wrestler to more of the sports entertainer, more of the general kind of other product, for lack of better words. So I'll be curious to see how it does unfold. But again, it does come down to more of a philosophical, more general approach of maybe Vince McMahon wanting to build new talent literally from scratch, whereas Triple H and NXT of old very much was developing independent wrestling stars into better stars in WWE. Shout out to Nando giving you and me a 9.5 for this show tonight. Nando, we love you and we appreciate your support. But John, do you want to weigh in on the NIL program at all? Because based on the very little that we know sitting here today.
I'm willing to give it a try and see if anybody is successful or it works out. I think it's a great opportunity for college athletes to pursue a potential path outside of whatever sport they're doing. And of course, it never hurts to beat your competition to doing something like this and trying just to get a heads up. They are obviously more of sports entertainment, as we've known, compared to the AEW professional wrestling side of it, where it's less acting, more kind of wrestling performing type stuff. If you know what I'm getting at. So I think WWE is more of a fit for somebody like a track star, like Bianca Belair, or a football player. It just really depends on what you want to do exactly.
That's all there is to it, and like what I said, all there really is to it is you really, none of us will really know until some of these stars literally make it, and we see them in the ring, and we see how they do grow, how they do progress, and go from there. And that will likely be a fairly, if not a long process, it's not going to be overnight. So it's very much a wait and see kind of thing with that. But all of that being said, we had Raw tonight. As always, this is just part of our lineup here. John, you and I will be back here Tuesday night for NXT. Steven getting us the lineup here. It'll be Cora Jade versus Dakota Kai, Braun Breaker versus Roderick Strong, Tony D'Angelo versus Chase Hudson, the in-ring debut of Harland, and a no-holds-barred match between Cameron Grimes and Duke Hudson. So actually a pretty good lineup there. So hopefully we'll have a good episode of NXT 2.0. Otherwise, Robert and I won't be here on Friday, but usually we're here for Friday and SmackDown. The two Dynamite dudes on the Rampage cover all things AEW. And otherwise, we've got a great stream of interviews constantly coming at you, and I've got a couple in the pipeline myself. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe. So that being said, all those are available on all of our platforms, SoundCloud, Spotify, you know the drill. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And with that being said, another wonderfully kind comment from Brian saying you guys are awesome. Love WrestleZone. We appreciate you. And Steve saying great show. I try to go out of my way here. We really, at least speaking for myself, I'm sure John would agree, we really appreciate you guys' support. It really does mean a lot. We wouldn't be here without you. It means a lot. You're sitting up here quite literally until midnight on Tuesday morning talking about the wild world of wrestling every week with us. It means so much, and I really, really appreciate it. We try to help you guys enjoy the wrestling. We try to help you guys, just have a good time talking about the show when it's good, when it's bad, or anywhere in between. Speaking of the podcast here, now to bring up poor Ring of Honor. I talked for an hour about Ring of Honor yesterday on the podcast, just talking about Final Battle and everything. So if you're a Ring of Honor fan, want to reminisce about Ring of Honor and its uncertain future at this point, make sure to check that out as well. But all these things being equal, all these things and more available on all of our platforms. So that being said, John, whether it's Raw, NXT, SmackDown, AEW, Ring of Honor, whatever it might be, we've got you covered. And in the goal of doing the one thing we do above all others, and can you tell me what that is?
Enjoy wrestling.
Indeed. Thanks for listening, everybody.